Ja, hallo. Ich bin's. Zu ungewohnter Zeit und auch ganz ungewohnt, ja, nicht ganz ungewohnt, habe ich ja auch schon gehabt, alleine, weil Lexi gerade unterwegs ist für ein Weilchen, ähm, und ich, diese Zeit nutze, um mal ein paar andere Sachen zu streamen als unsere üblichen Geisterjäger-Geschichten. Dabei, fiel mir ein Spiel ins Auge, das ich, schon vor einiger Zeit im Angebot gekauft hatte, weil ich dachte, das, hört sich witzig an. Bin noch nicht dazu gekommen, es zu spielen und deshalb dachte ich, es passt vielleicht ganz gut für einen Livestream. Ich weiß über das Spiel wenig. Ich habe ein paar Rezensionen gelesen, aber ich wollte nichts woanders gucken, weil, ähm es wird auch in den Rezensionen immer gesagt, man sollte am besten nichts wissen. Weil eigentlich fast alles ein Spoiler wäre. Das Spiel muss ziemlich abgedreht sein. Erst heiße ich euch jetzt hier willkommen und wünsche euch viel Spaß. Ähm, Voll Banane, aber witzig. Ja, genau. So hatte ich mir das vorgestellt. Also, wie gesagt, ich bin da total unbefleckt. Ich habe, keinen Plan, was da auf mich zukommen wird, außer das Grobe, dass es eben Banane ist und, dass ich wohl jemand bin, der im Büro arbeitet und das Büro aber irgendwie plötzlich leer ist. Das ist wohl so die Ausgangssituation, dass ich alleine im Büro bin. So, ob ich das schon mal gespielt habe? Nein, habe ich nicht. Dass der Computer gerade noch sichtbar ist. Also, bei mir ist er gerade noch sichtbar, bei euch weiß ich es nicht. Ich mache es 'n Tick heller, weil es in YouTube meistens etwas dunkler dargestellt wird. Ich denke, so könnte hinhauen. Zur Not können wir's ja nachher auch noch mal 'n bisschen abändern. Die aktuelle Zeit, wir haben 19:00 und AM, PM, also 7:00 und 7 Minuten, glaube ich, etwa. Ja, das hätte das Spiel aber auch aus meiner Systemuhr nehmen können. Einschätzung bei können über das Hauptmenü vorgenommen. Okay. Muss auch gleich die Lautstärke, ich habe noch nichts eingestellt. Ich denke, die Lautstärke werde ich ein bisschen runterfahren müssen. Das machen wir erst mal.
This is the story of a man named
Okay, das hört sich ganz okay an. Also, ich hoffe, ihr könnt mich dann gut hören und auch den Spielton. So, Video, das sieht alles okay aus, bla bla, bla bla. Ja, ja. Auf diesen Anwenden brauche ich eigentlich ja nicht noch mal, obwohl 59 Hertz reichen auch. So, dann würde ich sagen, wir beginnen das Spiel mal und ich bin gespannt, was jetzt passieren wird. Ich weiß auch nicht zur Spiellänge, also weil in der Beschreibung steht ja auch irgendwas drin von wegen, das Spiel endet und das Spiel endet nie. Ähm, Das ist natürlich eine Erklärung, die da schwierig einzuordnen ist. Ähm, Ich muss mal gucken, wenn man irgendwie einen Durchlauf, machen kann und später noch mal einen anderen Durchlauf und ein Durchlauf nicht zu lang ist, dann würde ich ihn vielleicht heute komplett machen, einen Durchlauf und morgen dann noch einen. Oder, wenn es zu lange dauert, dann teilen wir das eben. Wir gucken mal.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month
klingt auch
of
am
every
aufregenden
year.
Job.
And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okay. Aufgestanden sind wir offensichtlich schon. Aber es sieht im Moment noch nicht so aus, als wenn ich hier irgendwelche Gegenstände bedienen könnte. Kommt. Oder so. Lustig. Es macht Geräusche, wenn ich die Maus klicke. Spielgeräusche, aber sonst... Okay, wir gehen mal raus. So, da wäre Mitarbeiter 429.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ja, so wird's sein.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Was? Wartet. Okay. Nicht so viel, war ziemlich schnell unterwegs, muss ich feststellen. Nur im Rennmodus. Oh. Habe ich jetzt den Computer ausgemacht? Entschuldigung, das wollte ich nicht. Mysteriös, mysteriös.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, hier sind wir an einem Punkt, das habe ich in den Rezensionen gelesen. Es gibt halt ja immer die Möglichkeit, das zu tun, was der Sprecher sagt, und eben genau das nicht zu tun, was er sagt. Jetzt ist halt die Frage, wenn man 2 Durchläufe macht, ob man beim ersten sagt, ja, ich mach mal, was er sagt. Nach rechts. Okay, scheint lustiger zu sein, nach rechts zu gehen. Okay. Das heißt also schon im ersten Durchgang eigentlich sich chaotisch verhalten, ja. Das ist, macht vielleicht dann. Ist wahrscheinlich witziger, ne?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Ja, das war mein Plan, natürlich. Vielleicht habe ich das aber auch nur gemacht, weil Krisch es gesagt hat. Ja, wem höre ich jetzt? Auf wen höre ich jetzt? Höre ich auf den Sprecher oder höre ich auf Krisch? Wer manipuliert mich am meisten, ist doch die Frage. Jedenfalls nirgends so rein, aber da läuft noch ein Computer immerhin. Okay, also ich glaube, in die Türen komme ich nirgendwo rein.
Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Oh ja, ich sauge. Fantastisch.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Ja, ich finde, es lohnt sich. Auf jeden Fall.
At this point, Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
Die Uhrzeit ist
Stanley sat
aber
around
nicht
waiting for
richtig.
more dialogue. But when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Habe ich jetzt die Bilder genug gewürdigt? Ich denke. Obwohl, da ist auch noch eins. Das habe ich noch nicht richtig geschaut. Sehr schön. Die anderen fand ich besser. Okay.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Habe ich gemacht. Okay. Da können wir rein. Das sieht doch interessant aus.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ja, ich dachte, ich gucke erstmal hier, bevor ich drüben reingehe. Ich weiß gar nicht, ob meine Klickerei irgendwas bringt. Oder ob ich eigentlich wirklich nur laufen muss. Wahrscheinlich. Oh. Ikea. Kisten. Könnte ich da runterfallen? Ich will da nicht runterfallen. Okay, dann was steht da?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Okay.
This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Okay. Also hinter mir gehen die Türen immer wieder zu. Das heißt, einmal für einen Weg entschieden, scheint sich das dann immer auch erledigt zu haben. Ich meine, hier war ja jetzt eh keine Entscheidung, aber ich würde gerne Gabelstapler fahren. Das ist sehr schwarz hier. Aber es geht ja nirgendwo anders hin. Geh doch mal rein, oder?
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Ja gut. Ich bin mal nicht so. Hallo?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Mhm. Okay, also ich kann, ja, ich kann machen, was ich will, aber es kann nur lustig werden. Das ist gut. Das gefällt mir. So, wir können jetzt da rein, weil er ja gesagt hat, wir können da rein und dann wird er uns erzählen, was los ist, oder wir gehen woanders hin, ne?
Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Entschuldigung. Na gut, dann gehe ich ja wohl doch mal hier rein, ne?
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Wer ich?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Ja, und ich mache das jetzt auch immer noch, was er will. Ja, ich mach's.
Look at him there,
Das ist halt
pushing
mein Leben, ne?
buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Ich drücke R.
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Was ist denn, wenn ich jetzt eine andere Taste? Ich probiere das mal. Achso, so laufe ich natürlich. Okay, eine andere Taste passiert nichts. Könnte jetzt wahrscheinlich gehen. Aber da macht er jetzt zu. Ne, ich muss wohl drücken. Okay.
And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Ja gut.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Drücke H, um deiner Frau zu sagen, dass du sie liebst. Ja, gut.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Okay. Wie um schlafen zu gehen. Ja gut, kommen wir nicht raus. Dann gehen wir schlafen.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Ja, bin ich jetzt Rebell. Ich bin Rebell und mache es, obwohl ich mache es ja immer. Bin ich jetzt auch Rebell, wenn ich es nicht mache? Ich weiß es nicht. Ich drücke.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Ja, er lässt mir halt keine Wahl. Ich muss K drücken. Dann hinterfragen wir mal nichts.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and
You
Stanley
stirb.
pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Okay. Hier ist tot, ja. Okay, wir sind wieder in unserem Büro. Wieder am Anfang. Again and again.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ja. Diesmal gehen wir sehr schnurstracks den Weg.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
So, wenn ich jetzt dann mal links durchgehe. Ja, schön, kriegst du da noch was Neues.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Okay. Das ist mir gerade zu unübersichtlich. Hinsetzen kann ich mich nicht machen. Okay, dann gehen wir einfach weiter.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okay, das ist wieder die Möglichkeit, Oh, da unten ist aber, da leuchtet schön rot. Ich gehe mal da unten.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Ja, immer noch da. Das war jetzt zu
Stanley
erwarten.
began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Okay. Ja, wir sind wieder im Büro, wa? Ich dachte es mir. Muss kurz mal... Ne, kann ich. Okay, ich dachte, ich könnte kurz mal an der Lautstärke, aber ich glaube, die Lautstärke ist okay so, ne? Zwar dachte ich, meine
All of his
Systemlautstärke
co-workers
ist
were
entweder...
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he
Ja.
had simply missed a memo.
Nee, dass meine Systemlautstärke vielleicht zu leise ist. Ich war mir nicht sicher. Aber ich denke, passt. So, ja, wir gehen halt wieder hier durch.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
So, jetzt ist wieder die Frage. Ich könnte... Moment, links war ja das mit dieser Bühne, mit dieser Hebebühne, die da... Geht da nochmal durch.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked
Ach
upstairs
ja, da
to
ging es ja
his
erstmal
boss's
runter. Ja,
office.
jetzt können wir ja hochgehen zum Chef. Das ist auch rot. Aber rote Tapete. Okay. Rechts. Wo bin ich hier hin jetzt gegangen? Ich weiß nicht. Ich weiß nicht mehr. Leider ist ja der Chat verzögert. Deshalb, jetzt wo du das geschrieben hast, habe ich es natürlich längst schon. Oder meinst du hier oben im Flur rechts? Ich weiß nicht. Da ging es ja jetzt nicht weiter. Türen, die zu sind, sind eben einfach zu, ne?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Am Klavier kann ich nichts machen. Ich kann... Bisher konnte ich auch noch... Entschuldigung. Mit keinem
Stanley just sat around twiddling his
Gegenstand
thumbs.
etwas tun.
Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Ja. Wie hätte ich das wissen können?
2845.
Ja, okay. Was ist, wenn ich die andersrum eingehe?
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
Okay. Also richtige Code war auch nicht wichtig. Okay, hier geht's nicht weiter. Ah, ich kann ja doch Sachen drücken. Stimmt, konnte ich ja auch gerade schon bei dem Code.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Ja, das ist Banane, genau. Aber das, ja, ich mag das. Ich mag das, dass das so Banane ist. Weiß auch nicht, ob ich nach einem tieferen Sinn suchen soll, aber wahrscheinlich nicht.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Okay. Escape. Wahrscheinlich kann man ja eh wieder beides früher oder später machen, ne? Weil irgendwann komme ich sowieso wieder in mein Büro.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent
Na
death.
super. Das war ja eine Top-Entscheidung dann.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Ja, das ist nett von euch.
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Jo. Mach ich. Da stürzt ich runter, wa? Und bin ich wieder im Büro? Ah ne, ich falle tatsächlich.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end
Okay, ich
to
werde
his
jetzt
brief and shadowed
gepresst.
life. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Aber das stimmt doch nicht. Alles eine Lüge.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What
Ja.
exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Ich gehe mal weiter.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Okay. Ui. Was macht mein Computer hier? Ja gut, wenn ich tot bin. Landschaftsgemälde. Interessant. Die zwei Türen. Die zwei offenen Türen waren der erste konkrete Teil des Stanley Parable Designs. Als dieser Raum erstellt worden war, entwickelte sich der Rest des Spiels als eine Erweiterung davon, eine Erkundung des Widerspruchs, den dieser Raum darstellte. Gang. Es war wichtig, das Spieltempo in diesem ersten Abschnitt richtig einzustellen. Dieser Korridor wurde verschoben und verändert, um sicherzustellen, dass der Spieler die beiden Türen in einer guten Zeit erreicht. Okay, ich kann mich auch ducken. Stelle ich gerade fest. Büro-Grundriss. Dieser Plan zeigt das Büro vom Spielanfang. Der Weg von Stanleys Büro zu den beiden Türen war der erste Teil des Spiels, der gebaut wurde. Im Laufe der Entwicklung wurden Abschnitte hinzugefügt und verändert, aber der Kerngrundriss ist fast identisch zum ersten Durchlauf. Aha. Da sehe ich 3 Türen, da ist bestimmt irgendwo der Zonk drin. Was haben wir hier noch? Bürocomputer. Oh, Solitär. Ups. Ich mache irgendwie alles kaputt. Credits. Okay, ist das der Abspann? Sozusagen. Knopfgeräusche. Eine Auswahl an Geräuschen, die im gesamten Spiel beim Drücken von Knöpfen verwendet werden. Jedes Geräusch ist eine Mischung aus einem Tastaturanschlag und einem künstlichen Ton. Interessant. Da hinten geht es auch noch weiter, aber ich gucke mir erstmal die Türen hier an. Das Büro. Okay, an den Türen kann ich nichts mehr machen. Da geht es auch weiter. Das sieht aber weniger aufregend aus, aber Bürouhr, die nicht die Zeit hat, die ich eingegeben habe. Interessant. Ich gehe mal andere Seite durch. Hier das Büro, ja. Wartungsraum. Eine erste Version des Wartungsraums. Mhm. Ach so, das ist wegen der Deluxe Edition, ne? Vermutlich. Dass es das im Ursprungsspiel so nicht gab, wo ich hier bin. Schlachtfeld. Okay. Schon früh in der Entwicklung haben wir ein Ende entworfen, bei dem Stanley auf einem Schlachtfeld landet und gegen Aliens kämpft. Das Actionspiel sollte empfindungsfähig werden, Krieg gegen den Erzähler führen. Kurz nachdem wir mit der Entwicklung begonnen hatten, merkten wir, dass das viel zu witzig und zu kurz gedacht war für den Charakter des Spiels. Außerdem wurde es von manchen Leuten so interpretiert, dass das Spiel sich über Leute lustig macht, die Ego-Shooter mögen, was nicht unsere Absicht war. Okay. Da geht's nicht weiter. Ja, ja, ach so, ja, kann sein, dass das eigentlich schon als Ende gedacht ist hier, ne? Okay. Ich gehe noch mal kurz hier hoch. Da hinten geht's noch. Oh, das ist ja echt eine Menge, was hier noch. Okay, dann werden wir es erneut beginnen.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay. Alles wieder auf Anfang. Mehr oder weniger.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay, wir gehen mal wieder rechts.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes, this room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Okay, da war ich eben.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Jetzt möchte ich aber das hier sehen.
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go, from here it's, left.
Naja, wenn ich sowieso weiter vom Weg abkommen wollte, dann hätte ich jetzt auch eine andere Tür
Oh,
genommen.
no, it's to the right, my mistake.
Okay. Okay.
No, not the right. Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please? Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
Okay. Da geht's nicht weiter.
No. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole story completely unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense, we'll just restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't wander so far off track, Okay, from the top.
Natürlich. Okay.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Ja,
What
überraschend.
could it mean? Stanley
Die Kollegen
decided to
sind
go
weg.
to the
Ich bin
meeting room.
entsetzt.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley... Wait, what? No, I restarted. I swear I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be... Oh, did something change? Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors? Did you move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere. Okay, then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Stream hängt. Also eigentlich dürfte es nicht, also jedenfalls nicht, was ich hier sehe. Rein technisch gesehen läuft er rund. Vielleicht nochmal aktualisieren.
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you there definitely was a story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and over again, but it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
Okay. Gut,
All of his
Hauptsache es läuft
co-workers
jetzt
were
wieder bei
gone.
dir.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
So. Jetzt sind da gar keine Türen mehr.
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong. It's possible the story is back where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
Mhm. Ja, machen kann ich ja eh nichts. Also gehen wir zurück.
Aha! I knew we'd miss something. The story. Here it comes. No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and retrace our steps.
Gut. Der Typ ist doch einfach nur durch seinen Bürojob wahnsinnig geworden, oder? Anders ist es ja nicht erklärbar hier.
Now well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe my story took place in an office building. Is that correct? Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've completely forgotten what we were supposed to be doing, how about this? You win! Congratulations!
Ja, danke schön.
I know you put in a lot of hard work, and it really paid off, so good job. Oh, no. No, I don't feel right about this at all. We both know you didn't put in any actual work for that win. Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by whatever this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I have to restart.
Okay.
All right, I've got a solution. This time, to make sure we don't get lost, I've employed the help of the Stanley Parable adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
Ja, gut. Ich glaube, den Weg hätte ich jetzt auch noch ohne Linie geschafft, aber bitte. Hä? Aber was ist, wenn ich nicht der Linie folge? Weil normalerweise gehen wir doch immer hier entlang. Aber hier ist...
No, I'm down. We're leaving it up to the line from now on.
Ja, okay. Na gut. Solitär geht nicht. 4B6. Das ist merkwürdig. 4B5. Ah ne, die haben ja alle das B drin. Okay, dann ist das nicht merkwürdig.
You see? The line knows where the story is. It's over in this direction. Onward, Stanley, to destiny. Though, here's a thought. Wouldn't wherever we end up be our destination, even if there's no story there? Or to put it another way, is the story of no destination still a story? Simply by the act of moving forward, are we implying a journey such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very manifestation of the nature of life itself? Okay, Stanley, I need to follow this train of thought for a minute. Just stick with me. Now, we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience of that existence, right? Okay, now if my experience of your existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office, is this office in fact the skeleton of my own relative experiential mental subjective construct? Whoa. Hang on. That got a bit weird back there. Well, I'd like to apologize. Not sure where I was going with all that. You know what? I think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
Ja, danke. Ja, diese Tür interessiert mich natürlich auch wegen dem Fragezeichen. Aber die geht nicht. Schütteln. Okay, die Musik ist jetzt sehr laut. Kann ich da mal eben... Weil sonst hört man mich ja hier gar nicht mehr. Ja, ich glaube, so ist besser. So, wir können wieder der Linie folgen. Ja, müssen wir wohl. Ich gehe natürlich erstmal wieder den falschen Weg. Aber Moment. Ja, toll. So verlaufe ich mich dann tatsächlich. Dann gehen wir mal den richtigen Weg. Wo bin ich jetzt gekommen? So, ne? Kann das sein, dass ich jetzt im Kreis laufe? Ne, von da sind wir eben gekommen. Siehst du, einmal die Linie verlassen, schon tut mich. Ah, okay. Das ist, muss ich die Wand entlang? Kann ich leider nicht. Da geht's nicht weiter, schade. Ja. Ich folge dem Weg, soweit es geht. Ja, so fühlt sich mein Gehirn gerade an. Okay, der Maler der Linie war schon schwer besoffen. Was ist das? Kann man leider nicht nehmen. Ich folge der Linie. Hoch. Okay, da komme ich gleich sowieso wieder vorbei, denke ich.
Wait, cut the music, go back and look at that fern.
Den Fahren?
Stanley, this fern will be very important later in the story. Make sure you study it closely and remember it carefully. You won't want to miss anything.
Okay. Ich sehe ihn mir mal genau an. Ja, also wahrscheinlich verarscht mich das Spiel jetzt eh wieder. Aber ist egal. Ich habe ihn mir genau angeschaut.
Wait, what? We're back at the office? No, no. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
Nee, nicht wirklich. Dadurch, aber da hinten war auch eine Linie, oder? Aber da hätte man anders gehen. Oder kommt, ja, man kommt vielleicht danach wieder durch. Jetzt sind wir wieder hier.
Oh,
Okay.
no, not again. Line, how could you have done this to us? And after we trusted you, after everything we've been through, you... Oh, I can't take this anymore. To hell with it. Restart.
Okay, aber die Linie ist noch da.
You know what, Stanley? I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever done for us? We're intelligent people, right? Why can't we make up our own story? Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh, this all sounds perfectly doable. Why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
Ja, vielleicht. Kann ich nochmal zurück? Na gut, gehen wir hier durch.
Now, yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley forging a new path, a new story. Well, it could be anything. What do you want our story to be? Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be, Stanley, I'm ready for it.
Ja, bisher ist ja sehr aufregend, die Story. Viel Fantasie scheint er jetzt gerade nicht zu besitzen. Wahnsinnsstory.
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
What? Lass uns doch da hochgehen. Schade, ich dachte, ich könnte jetzt wirklich mal meine Fantasie spielen lassen.
Ah, a choice. We get to make a decision. From here, the story is in our control. How important we mustn't squander the opportunity. In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay, so I know that each door has to lead somewhere, which means that somewhere, the place where we're trying to go, there must be a reverse door that leads here. And that in turn means that our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse door's origin. So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right door lead us to where we're going? And since the answer is clearly yes, then by all accounts, the door on the right is the correct one. Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley, our destiny awaits.
Na gut, die Entscheidung konnte ich ja nun nicht treffen.
Oh, hold up, what's this? The confusion
Verwirrungsende?
ending. You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed to restart the game, what, eight times? That's
Okay.
really how all this goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget? My mind goes blank simply because it's written here on this thing, wall. Well, who consulted me? Why don't I get to decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really... No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget what's going on. I don't want to be trapped like this. I won't restart the game. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it. And the timer stopped? Does that mean, did we do it? Did we break the cycle? The, whatever it is that made this schedule? How would we even know? Will someone come for us? Will something happen? So, okay. I guess now we just wait. You know, I suppose in some way that this is a kind of story. Wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well, in the meantime, if you...
Bäh. Das kam plötzlich. Das ist so crazy.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall.
Wann kommt denn die Sache mit dem Fahren? Wahrscheinlich nie mehr. Oder doch, und dann kommt irgendwas, was ich mir nicht merken konnte. So, wir haben keine Linie mehr. Also gehen wir wieder diesen Weg und es sind wieder beide Türen da.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Gehen wir wieder links.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Nein, tut er nicht.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun,
Okay, ich bin jetzt aber im
and
Kreis
Stanley
gelaufen.
marveled that he had still not woken up.
Ich dachte mir auch, er kann mich ja jetzt nicht ewig weiterlaufen lassen, weil
And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. While he
hat
was
ja
amazed he
noch eine
hadn't asked
Geschichte zu
himself
erzählen.
sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, The truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up.
Ja klar, er lässt mich im Kreis laufen. Natürlich, damit er die Geschichte weitererzählen kann. Das ist
the
das
fresh
Ding.
air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Nee, I am not okay.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Sollen wir jetzt
This is
dieselbe
the
Szene wie
story
eben?
of a woman
Wahrscheinlich.
named
Ja,
Mariella.
okay.
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment,
Das heißt, der
she
Weg in den
thought to
Keller,
herself how
da wo
lucky
es
she
zum Chef
was to
geht,
be normal. I am
die brauchen wir
sane.
nicht mehr machen, weil
I
wir dann
am
immer
in
wieder hier
control of
landen.
my
Ne?
mind. I know what is real and what
Also zum
isn't.
Chef geht es ja nach oben, aber
It
wir
was
sind ja in den
comforting
Keller
to
gegangen.
think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Okay, und das war, ich glaube, links. Ne? Also bei der Auswahl der beiden Türen war ich links und dann halt in den Keller. Das war also das, was uns immer wieder an diese
All
Stelle
of his
führt.
co-workers were gone.
Aber
What
Moment,
could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
das sieht doch jetzt hier anders aus gerade. What? Ah, da sind die beiden.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Genau, also links war die Geschichte mit dem, wo ich dann in den Keller gegangen bin. Ich glaube. Und rechts müssen wir mal gucken, was da noch ist.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Oder nee,
Perhaps he
rechts
wanted
war
to
das.
stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Dann sollten wir jetzt aber nicht...
The lounge was sublime, a work of art. What was it about this room? But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
So, das war... Du, wenn ich geradeaus durchging, das hatten wir noch nicht, ne? Ich bin hier
And
mit der
so he
Bühne
detoured through the
runtergefahren.
maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Ja, aber ich konnte mal reingehen. Immerhin.
Coming to a staircase,
da ging's jetzt
Stanley
runter.
walked
Wir gehen aber
upstairs
rauf.
to his boss's office.
Da passierte nichts.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Also in der Besenkammer, wenn man da länger stehen bleibt.
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley
Ja,
happened to
komm, wahllos.
input the correct code by sheer luck.
Unfassbar.
Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Damit sind wir schon mal runtergefahren. Aber hier ging es ja auch nicht weiter. Kann man da auch hochfahren? Ich meine, das leuchtet leider nicht. Schade. Und zurück komme ich nicht mehr, ne? Okay. Da müssen wir wohl wieder runterfahren. Kann man, ja, okay, hochfahren kann man auch, aber ändert das was? Ich will das mal eben checken.
Whoops.
Weil ich...
Nope. Never mind. Stanley actually got back into the elevator and went back up. Silly me.
Ja, du dummer.
Why did Stanley do that when he knew that it would just lead back to his boss's office? Well, that's a great question. I just can't wait to find out.
Ich bin auch sehr gespannt.
Here we are, Stanley. It's your boss's office. Exactly the way it was before you got onto the elevator.
Ja.
It's still just exactly what it is. What a decision you've made to come up here and look at the office again. This has fleshed out the plot of the story in new and fascinating ways I could have never anticipated. It's that keen eye for storytelling that you have, an incisive rapid fire of critical plot points, one after the other, weaving a rich tapestry of uncompromising narrative. Wow! I'm bolted to the edge of my seat.
Ja. Das war doch sensationell. Ja, die Reaktion fand ich aber lustig. Gut, dass ich das gemacht habe.
Incredible. Now he's getting back into the elevator and going down again. Ladies and gentlemen, how does he keep coming up with all this?
Ja.
Surely this time Stanley will walk forward into the spooky corridor, won't he?
Ja, das wird er wohl diesmal tun.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
So, eben hat man aber Escape genommen, den nehme ich diesmal nicht. geht's nicht weiter. Eine Glühbirne. Da geht mir vielleicht ein Licht auf.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Okay.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Okay, an den Computern kann ich wohl nichts mehr machen. Huch. Ist das normal, dass ich hier entlang laufen kann? Was ist, wenn ich da jetzt rüber... Dann werde ich fallen, ne? Nicht, dass das ein Bug ist und dann komme ich da nicht mehr raus. Vielleicht ist es aber auch eingeplant. Man weiß es nicht.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Ja. So ist das wohl. Probier's aus. Ja, kann ich jetzt ja leider... Oder beziehungsweise... Ne, hier kann ich nicht mehr hoch. Ne? Nee. Ja, ich komme leider ja nicht mal an die Stelle zurück. Vielleicht kommen wir dann nochmal hin, dann probiere ich's.
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Okay.
But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Okay. Schön, dass das Geräusche macht, aber es hilft mir nicht weiter. Und es ist sehr dunkel. Gibt es hier irgendwo Lichtschalter? Okay, da kann ich wohl auch nichts drücken. Dann müssen wir wohl... Oh, wir müssen da hinten durch. Na gut, wir müssen gar nichts, aber ich denke mal, da kommen wir weiter.
And when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Mhm. Und was ist, wenn ich auf On drücke?
Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the
Ja,
controls, did
doch,
you?
habe ich.
After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say, 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires. Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start.
Wenn ich nochmal auf On drücke?
What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock, why not? These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count. Or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Okay. Yay, da sind wir wieder. Ich freue mich.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the... When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Das muss ich überlegen. Links gab es, glaube ich, schon auch noch was, ne?
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
Mach ich. Lass mir Zeit. Ist doch schick hier. Ja, man könnte die Wände mal machen. Das Werkzeug ist auch nicht mehr das Neueste. Könnte man auf den neuesten Stand bringen. Ich trinke mal eben einen Schluck Kaffee. Ich hoffe, ihr habt so viel Zeit. Ich weiß nicht, ob ich mich bewegen darf. Also ich darf mich natürlich bewegen, aber ob dann das ausgelöst wird, was passiert, wenn man zu lange in der Besenkammer ist. Ja gut, das ist besser in der alten als in der neuen. Ne? Aber irgendwie passiert hier nichts. Ja, ich glaube, ich werde jetzt hier nicht 5 Minuten stehen bleiben. Ich weiß ja auch nicht, das Anmaulen getriggert wird. Wir gehen mal weiter.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
So, das war jetzt aber linke Seite wieder. Oh. Oh. Da war ich noch nie, oder? Das Klo? Nie. Nichts kann man machen. Jetzt freue ich mich auf einen neuen Raum und dann ist da nichts. Schade. Okay, da geht nichts.
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take, too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into half moans, half sobs, the guttural retching of life from a man denied any hope, any reason to keep going. Here on the floor, he lay prone, paralyzed by fear for nearly a full hour. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Okay. War ich ihm zu schnell?
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Okay, wir fahren wieder runter.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Kann ich jetzt noch mal hier drauf? Das war doch, eben bin ich doch hier hochgekommen. Ups, da war ich ganz kurz. Jetzt komme ich nicht auf den Tisch. Da. Nee. Jetzt. Jö. Pong.
Aha! You've made it to the bottom of the mind control facility. Welcome!
Ja,
you see,
danke.
back when the Stanley Parable first launched in 2013, getting to the bottom of the mind control facility was a bug that we simply didn't catch during development. And you all sent us lots of photos of it on Twitter and acted very superior about it. And you're all very, very clever. Good for you. Anyway, when it came time to update the game, we knew that we had to do something about this little goof of ours, so here you go. New content. You can call it the bottom of the mind control room ending, if that enhances your perception of the value of these updates. Isn't that what you crave? New content? Always more content, more content, more. And I'm here to give it to you. I'm here to make it seem like we really covered every nook and cranny of the game with secrets and Easter eggs. How about this? We wrote a new piece of music just for this section. You won't hear it anywhere else in the game. It's a secret that's just for you. That's how special you are. We call this track, Good Job You've Made It to the Bottom of the Mind Control Facility. Well done.
Ja, ich fühle mich sehr geehrt. Ja, wunderbar. Schön, das auch erlebt zu haben. Okay, das ist jetzt wieder das ursprüngliche. Weil es ein Ende war, ne?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
So, wo bin ich jetzt eben reingegangen? Ich wollte jetzt eigentlich noch mal in die andere. Ich kann mich nur nicht mehr erinnern. Das Spiel macht halt ja so Malle. Muss ich jetzt rechts oder links? Links ging es zum Chef, oder? Hallo Corinna. Schön, dass du hier bist. Hast hier schon einiges verpasst jetzt. Ich weiß auch nicht mehr, wie viel Content da noch kommt. Jetzt bin ich leider links gegangen. Was ist das leider? Ich weiß jetzt nicht, ob das richtig war.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ja, ich sehe schon, dass hier noch einiges kommen kann. Dass die Tür jetzt zugenagelt ist ja eben auch nicht so gewesen. Also die Besenkammer, die will da nicht.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
So, wenn ich runtergehe, sterbe ich auf jeden Fall. Ja, Corinna ist doch auch sehr, sehr schön, war ja auch tolles Wetter heute. Und du kannst ja das Ganze im Nachhinein auch nochmal gucken. Weil es schon ein sehr, sehr witziges Spiel. Sehr Banane, sehr witzig. Aber noch sind wir ja dran. Mal gucken. Was sich noch eventuell auftut. Da war ich auch noch nicht. Das ist ein Aufzug. Okay. Warte mal mit dem Aufzug. Ja, hier war es dann ja den ganzen Tag relativ sonnig. Jetzt im Moment nicht mehr ganz so, aber eher so weiße Wolken. Ist alles okay. Wir fahren ziemlich lange mit diesem Aufzug. Aber ich finde die Aufzugsmusik sehr schön, die ist gelungen. Was flüstert der Sprecher da? Der summt hier mit. Ja, ich merke das schon. Der Aufzug war ja jetzt auch neu. Der lässt mich jetzt hier ewig fahren. Dumm. Klickt mal wieder auf nach oben. Da habe ich mir gedacht, dass ich jetzt direkt wieder hier bin. Das Spiel ist so crazy. Und was ist, wenn ich direkt nach oben fahre? Entschuldigung, dass ich das jetzt auch ausprobieren muss. Aber in dem Spiel musst du ja wirklich alles ausprobieren. Da kann ja, man weiß, was passiert. Ja, ich weiß auch nicht, wo ich hin will. Das Spiel weiß ja auch nicht, wo es mich haben will. Es gibt ja keinen richtigen Weg irgendwie in dem Sinne. Ich glaube, der lässt mich jetzt wieder ewig fahren. Naja, ich dachte es mir. Der tut immer nur sowas, wenn er fahren würde.
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Kill surprise.
Ja, schön, dass wir das jetzt mal abgekürzt haben hier. Und jetzt fahren wir wieder runter. Hoch geht ja. Nee.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
So, jetzt ist die Frage, ich gehe jetzt noch mal hier entlang.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death. The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Ja, diesmal mache ich das dann
At this
auch.
point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk
Nein,
forward and willingly confront his death.
Nein, mache ich jetzt nicht. Hier war nichts.
But of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Ja, wir gucken mal. Diesmal werde ich versuchen,
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed.
die Gedankenkontrolle
Each bore the
abzuschalten.
number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Die 234, da stimmt aber was nicht. Egal. Die ist irgendwie unbemalt und 104 ist gefeuert. Okay. Welcher waren wir noch mal? 400, irgendwas mit 400. Ich weiß es gar nicht mehr genau. 464 wäre interessant, weil der ist auch gefeuert. Hm. Was, wenn ich zurückgehe? Na, da passiert nichts mehr. Okay.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
So, dann schalten wir die Systempower diesmal ab. Ja, toll. Jetzt sind wir wieder im Büro, ne? Oder?
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Natürlich nicht.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine. Unshackled himself from someone else's command.
Ja,
Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Okay.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Errungenschaft. Das Schläge des Spiels. Und die zweite habe ich habe 2 Stück bekommen. Die zweite habe ich nicht gesehen. Ja, und da sind wir wieder im Büro.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ja, das war wieder relativ sinnlos. Oh, New Content. Ja, da gehen wir rein.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Ja, gucken wir mal, ne?
thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Ja, ich auch. Ich meine, ich kannte zwar die alten Inhalte auch noch nicht, aber schön, dass jetzt noch neue dabei sind.
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure.
Ja.
Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it.
Ja.
I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley.
Ja.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Okay. Das klingt nach einem Job genau passend für Stanley. Yes. Das war's. Fantastisch. Das Spiel ist so bekloppt.
Is that it?
Ich hoffe
Surely
nicht.
that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right?
Noch ein Auto.
Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Okay. Jetzt sind wir wieder in dieser anderen Szene, wo wir hä?
Psst! Stanley! Come over here! In the vent! I want to show you something!
Okay, komme. Bin ich jetzt in die Tod gestürzt, oder? Ah, nee.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Ui. Uiuiui. Damit hätte ich jetzt nicht gerechnet. Das ist ja toll. Schönes Bild, so könnte man als Thumbnail fast nehmen. Aber ich habe ja schon eins.
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Okay, vom Weg ab können wir hier nicht.
You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Ja, Good Times. Das haben wir alles gerade erlebt. Oh, First Kiss, My First Car. Release of Sustainable. 2013. 20:13. Stimmt wieder nicht. Karten. Ich habe gesmiled. Kann nichts machen. Kann ich mich hier hinsetzen? Nein. Okay. Wow. Dicker Zen-Raum.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Ist aber hübsch hier. Okay, da geht's runter noch. Da komme ich nicht rein. Okay. Da geht nichts.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
Okay, Tür wieder aufgegangen.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again.
Ja, da geht ja nichts weiter, ne? Nee. Da auch nicht. Jumpen kann man ja nicht mehr. Das ging ja nur in dem einen Kreis. Aber da geht's jetzt weiter.
Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Huch.
Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Das finde ich ja lustig. Wenn das eine Originalrezension auf Steam ist, hätte man ja selbst auch in dem Spiel erscheinen können. Aber da hätte man wahrscheinlich auch sowas schreiben müssen und nichts Positives. Der mal den Daumen da unten. Da geht's nicht weiter, okay. Jetzt mal einen Daumen nach oben.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Okay, mal gucken, ob wir dann noch weiteres bekommen. Es passt sehr gut zu dem Spiel, dass sie so negative Rezensionen da reinnehmen. Da geht's weiter. Ja, da haben wir wieder was
What's
Negatives.
this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Dass du ab Montag wieder zocken kannst. Warum kannst du denn jetzt nicht zocken? Guck erst mal hinter die Wand da.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and can't be just yet, no, until 240. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly. Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But it... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's...
Okay.
Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you.
Na, bevor du es beschreibst,
there is
drücke ich noch
only
einen Knopf.
regret.
Jetzt ist er tot, oder was? Na? Ich komme ja nicht mehr weg, ne? Die Uhr ist von der Wand gefallen.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability, it's the...
Stille. Krisch, du hast gar keinen PC mehr? Das ist aber bitter. Willst du auch keinen mehr haben? Oder ist das eher... war das so nicht geplant?
The end is never the end, 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 is never the
Okay.
end.
Da passiert nichts. Oh, jetzt bricht es langsam alles zusammen hier. Es müssen ja auch schon zig Jahre vergangen sein. Ja, das liebe Geld. Problematisch. Ja, sehr schade. Vielleicht irgendwie erstmal gebraucht so als Übergang, sowas. Ich meine, so Sachen wie Phasmo oder so kann man ja dann zumindest spielen, die gehen ja. Wenn man nicht so die ultra neuen Supertitel spielt. Okay, den Sprecher gibt es wohl schon lange nicht mehr. Wie lange kann man dieses Spiel jetzt noch machen? Oh, das ist ja hübsch. Der Fahnen. Oh, schade. Jetzt ist nicht mehr hübsch. Oh, jetzt wird ja richtig gruselig hier. Oh, okay. Kann ich den Knopf noch betätigen? Nicht mehr wirklich, oder? Aber ich kann hier raus. Wie cool ist das denn? Toll. Jetzt glaube ich in der Wüste rum. Und wahrscheinlich verlaufe ich mich jetzt tierisch. Ich vermute aber mal, ich komme jetzt... Ja, okay. Man läuft irgendwo im Kreis, man kommt immer wieder... Also von dem Ding kommt man gar nicht wirklich weg. Oder doch? Da sind wir wieder im Büro. Gut, ich glaube, es gibt noch ein paar Sachen, die wir jetzt nicht gesehen haben in meinem Spiel. Aber es gibt ja auch noch andere Let's Plays, die da was zeigen und wir würden vielleicht jetzt zu viele Wiederholungen hier kriegen in bestimmten Dingen. Deshalb würde ich sagen, beenden wir das Spiel hier an der Stelle. Es war auf jeden Fall sehr unterhaltsam. Das ist, ja, richtig Banane und ich fand es gut. Ich mochte den Sprecher auch und ich mochte auch, wie sich das Spiel selber nicht ernst nimmt. Und den Spieler nicht ernst nimmt und man als Spieler das Spiel auch nicht ernst nehmen sollte und irgendwie alles nur bekloppt ist und das trifft meinen Humornerv. Ja, morgen werde ich wahrscheinlich wieder einen Stream machen. Ich hatte, glaube ich, 18 Uhr angegeben. Kann aber auch sein, dass es 19 Uhr wird. Also wenn ihr Lust habt, schaut da dann rein. Ich weiß aber auch noch nicht genau, was ich dann spiele. Also Dienstag werde ich auf jeden Fall wieder wahrscheinlich Phasmo spielen. Da bin ich ja immer noch alleine, also ohne Lexi, aber der Dienstag bleibt trotzdem, wie er ist, im Grunde. Morgen werde ich noch irgendwas ganz anderes gucken. Werde ich dann morgen entscheiden, was es ist. Wahrscheinlich auch etwas, was jetzt nicht so lange dauert. Morgen ist ja auch Muttertag, da weiß ich nicht, da sind ja auch nicht unbedingt alle immer so parat. Aber wenn man es nicht live sehen kann, kann man es ja hinterher anschauen. Deshalb, ich vermute, es wird eher morgen 19 Uhr werden, weil dann sind vielleicht auch viele mit ihren Kaffee- und Kuchenaktivitäten durch. Ja, einen schönen Abend wünsche ich euch auch noch. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Und dann ja vielleicht bis morgen oder spätestens bis Dienstag dann. Bis dahin sage ich ciao, ciao.